Yo vous, juste avant que la vidéo commence, je tiens à vous dire que c'est tiré d'un live Twitch, donc c'est normal. Si c'est lent, c'est normal s'il y a du moment de réflexion, parce que de base, le jeu est comme ça, c'est un jeu de réflexion où il faut prendre du temps pour comprendre, etc., tout ce qui se passe, parce que je ne connaissais absolument pas le jeu, j'en ai jamais entendu parler, je n'ai jamais vu de gameplay, etc., donc j'y allais totalement sans savoir ce que c'était. Et en plus, c'était un live Twitch le matin, donc il y avait vous connaissez le matin, me faites pas genre. Je vous ai coupé les moments les plus chiants qui n'apportent rien à la vidéo ni au jeu, mais je vous ai laissé quand même beaucoup de moments un peu lore parce que ça appartenait au jeu et ça appartenait au lore, donc ne vous inquiétez pas, c'est pour ça que la vidéo a duré autant longtemps, c'est parce que le jeu le méritait et le jeu dure aussi longtemps, voilà, j'ai coupé ce que je pouvais. N'hésitez pas, bien évidemment, à like, commenter, partager la vidéo, même vous abonner, et surtout n'hésitez pas à venir sur les live Twitch parce que c'est sur les live Twitch que toutes ces vidéos se passent. Voilà, on va découvrir beaucoup de jeux prochainement, y compris faire une aventure Minecraft, bref, je vais en parler dans la vidéo, mais voilà, n'hésitez pas à venir sur les live Twitch, le lien est dans la description, ainsi que le lien de tous mes réseaux, là où il y a du plus petit contenu, du TikTok, voilà, etc. Bref, moi je vous dis bonne vidéo à tous, et puis visionnage. Et bien bonjour à vous tous, j'espère que vous allez bien, j'espère que ça va tous très bien. Écoutez, aujourd'hui on va tester un jeu, un petit jeu indé qui n'a pas du tout été primé, non absolument pas, bien sûr que si. Un jeu qui a l'air incroyable, qui se nomme The Stanley Parable. Je sais pas du tout ce que c'est, j'ai vu vite fait comme quoi c'était un jeu de réflexion, un truc comme ça, donc voilà. Je lance le jeu de suite, je vais choisir une langue pour les textes et les sous-titres. Confirmado. Avez-vous déjà joué à The Stanley Parable? Non. Déplacer le curseur jusqu'à ce que l'ordinateur soit à peine visible. Ah, ça passe crème. Entrée l'heure actuelle. 9. Et dès qu'il est 7, on appuie sur confirmer. Hop, il est 8. Remarque, les paramètres d'accessibilité sont accessibles depuis le menu principal. Ok. Ok mon prof. Vous jouez à The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Oui. Alors je sais pas s'il y a une différence avec le The Stanley Parable normal, ou si est le Ultra Deluxe, mais d'après ce que j'ai vu, c'est juste un remake d'un jeu déjà fait. Donc ça devrait pas poser de problème. Comment c'est le jeu? Ma mère qui s'étonne que je sois déjà réveillé.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Ok.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
Employé numéro 47,
Employee
427.
427's job was simple. He sat at
okay.
his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job.
Ok.
Stanley was happy.
Il était heureux, c'est tout ce qui comptait.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ok. On est... Ah merde, on est en QWERTY, non? Ouais, putain. On est en QWERTY, les gars. Ok, d'accord. Non, je sais qu'il gauche, ça fait des bruits de touche. Ok, d'accord. Donc, c'est ça son environnement de travail. 27, d'accord. On peut rien ouvrir, on peut pas ouvrir les portes, d'accord.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Et là, c'est de réunion. Elle est là, non, elle est pas là. Where is the missing room? Ne dis pas que c'est ton nom.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Celle de gauche, ok. Damn.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Oh, on peut ouvrir ce garde.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
D'accord, donc là il va décrire tout ce qu'on fait, d'accord. C'est un peu genre le narrateur. Non.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Alors si je décide d'aller vers le bas. On va pas aller vers le bas. On va pas aller vers le bas, frérot, c'est rouge. Ah. Damn, il est bien le chef. En bas c'est rouge. Je vais pas te mentir, rouge pour moi est égal danger, danger est égal. Ah, ça fait peur. Bâtard, il m'a enfermé. Il est très bien le patron, hein, by the way. Ok, je crois qu'il a eu là le patron.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 284. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Oh, je vois rien, ah là. Ah, je vois rien, ah là. Frère, il a un bunker dans son salon. Comment ça, il a un bunker dans son salon, le gars? Truc. Eh, me dis pas que c'est un jeu d'horreur. Pourquoi l'ambiance ça change comme ça là, instantanément? Eh, moi je vais revenir dans mon bureau, c'est comme ça. Bon, allez. On y va les yeux fermés. Ah! Mais frère, what the fuck? Et l'ambiance, tu peux arrêter de faire par là? Donc là on essaie d'aller vers le bas. Pas assurant d'aller vers le bas. Là on s'engouffre là. Loi dingue. Oh pétard. Et vraiment. Déjà que j'étais pas confiant.
Deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Peut-être parce que ça fait peur. C'est pas le fait de savoir.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Escape là-bas à gauche. Est-ce qu'on veut vraiment s'échapper? Moi je vous dis un truc, d'accord? Un truc comme ça où on a deux possibilités. Faut faire ce que je vous dis, sinon vous allez vous prendre un énorme screamer. À moins que... Vous savez quoi, on va tester un truc. Je vais retirer mon casque pour éviter de me prendre de gros screamers sa mère. Et on avance.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
On y va quand même, on y va quand même, j'en ai rien à foutre.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
M'en fous. Je suis juste mort comme une merde. D'accord. Salut à tous.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see
Oh,
the
the
bigger
fuck?
picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of
Ah
no
ouais,
great
d'accord.
loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell,
On va
Stanley.
s'écroupir.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Et là. Oh merde. Quoi? J'y comprends rien. Pourquoi elle me laisse vivre cette connasse? Je suis qu'un être insignifiant dans ce monde. Pourquoi tu me laisses vivre? Et en plus, le narrateur il a changé de voix, ça sent pas bon. Je vais me prendre un screamer. Le Stanley Parable.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Tu me l'as bien dit ça, mon ami.
Death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Je vois. Ah ouais, d'accord. Donc là, c'est un jeu qui va nous faire débrouiller le cerveau. Ok. Tableau de paysage. Ok. Oh, ça c'est les Vosges, ça, je me rappelle. Ok, ça c'est un chemin à côté de chez moi. Ok, ça c'est la mer. Ça c'est la mer avec des roches. Ok, d'accord. Donc ça c'est le plan. Donc on vient de là. Tac, 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 tac. Tac, 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 tac. Et là normalement c'est The Office. Les deux portes. Donc ces deux portes ouvertes constituent la toute première pierre du game design de The Stanley Parable. D'accord, une fois que cette salle a été créée, le reste du jeu a émergé à partir de ce point de départ comme une exploration de contradictions opposées par cette pièce. D'accord, donc en gros, tout ce qui va sortir de cette pièce-là est en contradiction par rapport à l'un des deux chemins. Et en fait, on va devoir tout explorer pour se comprendre un peu. Au niveau du narrateur. Donc ça, c'est notre truc à nous. Le bureau. 1, 2, 3. Il y a 3 bureaux. Donc là, recommencer le jeu. Du coup, on doit faire ça.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the
Du
pressure.
coup, on va faire ça.
What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go anywhere except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
D'accord. Pourquoi j'ai attendu? Parce qu'il m'avait dit que depuis le tout départ, en étant sorti du bureau, tout est changé. Du coup, j'ai fait ça. Du coup, rien n'a changé. Du coup.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
On peut aller ouvrir ça. Non, on peut pas voir cette merde. Il y a une porte ouverte là-bas. Ok. ouvert ça. On va faire toutes les portes, voir si ça peut s'ouvrir ou pas. Non.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Après la porte de droite.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Non,
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Vous savez qu'on va faire ça et ensuite on ira faire là-bas.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Là, il y a tellement de possibilités en fait. Tellement de possibilités dans le jeu. D'accord.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left.
Pas moyen d'ouvrir ces deux trucs là. Pas moyen d'ouvrir. Pas moyen de... Non.
Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake. No.
Bah, va se revoir au bout d'un moment, c'est bon.
Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Ah, il y a une voiture. Elle allume la voiture. Alors qu'il est censé y avoir personne. Il y a quelqu'un. On va voir très vite. Oh pétard, pourquoi l'ambiance est comme... Wow.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning.
Non, on
This
redémarre
time,
pas le jeu.
suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
Non. Il faut que j'aille retourner là-bas. Faut que je retourne là-bas. Faut que j'y retourne.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Faut que j'y retourne, je me rappelle.
When Stanley... Wait,
What
what?
the fuck? Ah, ça va ouvert là-bas.
No, I restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on.
Non.
Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was
J'avoue.
right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Frérot, je sais quelle porte prendre. Je viens de là. Faut que je prenne cette porte-là. Merde, je viens d'où? Par là. Des couloirs. Putain, le con, il m'a perdu. Oh putain, le con. Mais c'est un labyrinthe.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Putain, j'ai tout tracé. J'ai déjà tout tracé le jeu.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Il y a même plus de porte.
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Ouais, j'avoue. Est-ce que c'est déjà cela? Et l'ambiance a changé. Bizarre l'ambiance un peu.
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
Comme bref. Comment ça mon ref? Ah c'est délabré.
Now
Oh
this...
non.
Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story?
Non,
I
je sais
don't
pas.
think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time, I have to restart.
Mais arrête de retard, toi, tu rends fou.
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable adventure line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
Oh ouais. Ah mais voilà. Ta ligne de mort. Alors que de base on doit aller là-bas. Hein? Pourquoi? Là la question est rude. Est-ce qu'on suit le jeu et on va là-bas pour entre guillemets continuer le jeu, ou est-ce qu'on casse complètement le jeu et on va de base là où on veut aller? Je pense qu'on va aller de base là où on veut aller.
No, I'm down. We're living it up to the line from now on.
D'accord, d'accord. Écoute, j'essaie de comprendre, etc. Ah bah tu me fais chier. Hein. C'est bon, je suis ta ligne de mort. Alors.
You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though,
Let's go.
here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination
Là c'est le bas de
still a
l'escalier où je
story?
voulais aller.
Simply by
Non,
the
le bas de
act of
l'escalier il est encore
moving
plus en bas.
forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably
vraiment là.
conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood. the music. Go back and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
On va même la prendre en photo sur mon téléphone, vous savez quoi. On va pas la rater. Ok, par contre chelou hein, la pièce là-bas, normalement on doit avoir un tunnel etc, bah le couloir d'ailleurs il est disparu. Ok,
Wait,
mif.
what? We're back at the office? No, Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Ouais, c'est commencé à être fucked up un peu.
No, not again, Line. How could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Non. Bon, pas grave. Le fois qu'on aille à cette...
Stanley, I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious.
Laisse-moi passer, petit bâtard.
This all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
C'est original, allez, let's go. Allons-y les amis, pourquoi pas.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be?
Je tourne en
Go
rond.
wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it.
Ah, on tourne plus en rond. Quand ça, on a tourné en rond 35 fois et là on tourne plus en rond, d'accord. Et pas très logique dans la chose.
Oh no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Ah, moi, va m'amener vers la salle. T'as attendu? What the fuck? C'est dégagé, d'accord. C'est pas un caméra. Oh, what the fuck?
A choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
Ah, j'allais sur la gauche, la porte de gauche, non? Ouais, je sais pas.
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times?
C'est tous les trucs que j'ai pas
Really
fait.
how all this goes? It's all
Ah
determined?
ouais.
So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written
Ah
here on
ouais, d'accord.
this thing.
Il y a tellement de possibilités, il y a
Whoa.
tellement de choses que j'ai pas faites.
Well, who consulted me? Why
c'est
don't
pas
I
grave.
get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really... No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen?
Bonne question.
So,
Pas un streamer,
Okay.
s'il vous plaît. Tout sauf un streamer.
I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you...
Eh, pas des trucs comme ça, frère. Avec un... Bah non. Ok, donc.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps
Il est pas au
he had simply
courant là,
missed a
du
memo.
coup. Ça se trouve, il est pas au courant. Ok, donc là, tout commence bien. Donc là, voilà.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his
On va
left.
repasser...
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
On va
Perhaps he wanted to
reprendre là
stop
et on
by
va
the
aller là
employee
où on
lounge
était allé.
first,
Non, on va
just
pas
to
prendre la même
admire it.
direction.
Wow, yes, this room. What? But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Là, vous savez quoi, on va même pas y aller.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Merde.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Faut dire pour elle, frérot.
This
Qui
is
c'est
it,
elle?
Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Du coup, il y a une fille, il y a une elle, il y a une madame ou quelque chose au féminin dans l'histoire. Qui est important pour nous. Pour le fait qu'il y a une porte noire. On s'en fout. Damn.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this.
On s'en fout, on le fait même pas. On n'a pas peur, nous. 427. Mais...
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right.
C'est une madame.
Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife? Who wanted to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Appuyez sur Y sur votre clavier. Y, ok.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Je vais pas appuyer sur Y. Rien à foutre. Avant que je dois obligatoirement appuyer, on va voir si j'attends quelques minutes. Là, ça va rien se passer, hein. On va attendre. On va pas attendre plus que ça. Hein.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
D'accord. Veuillez appuyer sur V pour regarder la télévision. D'accord, donc en fait, tous les choix qu'il fait, c'est quelqu'un qui les dicte. D'accord, donc, tiens là, en mode, si on te dicte pas, qu'est-ce que tu ferais?
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth.
Donc on est dans,
The
dans un
thought
rêve.
excited him terribly.
On est dans un rêve.
So He went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
On va préparer le dîner.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Donc en fait depuis le début c'est Stanley qui imagine tout, c'est l'employé de bureau qui imagine tout dans sa tête. D'accord, donc il n'y a rien qui s'est passé en fait. On va lire une histoire aux enfants parce que Stanley imagine.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Est-ce qu'on le fait ou pas? Allez, on va le faire, on va le faire. On va le faire. C'est quoi? On va pas le faire. Il n'y a rien qui se passe, c'est chiant. En tout cas, le jeu il est vraiment intéressant. Vraiment. Genre. Vraiment. Je comprends pas encore tout, mais je commence à comprendre vite fait ce que c'est. Vas-y, vous savez quoi, Nick, on va appuyer sur Q. 3, 2, 1.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
On va même pas appuyer. C'est bon, Nick. C'est bon. On va rien faire. Mais il faut attendre ultra longtemps, c'est chiant cette merde. On va tout remettre en question. Parce que bon. On va aider Stanley à sortir de cette boucle infernale. Même pas de haut-parleur. Comment il entendait des gens? Comment on lui dictait des choses s'il n'y a même pas de haut-parleur dans un truc? Vous savez sinon ça se passe dans votre vie? Et moi ça va. Moi ça va. Franchement. On va reprendre une aventure Minecraft. Bah une aventure Minecraft. En fait le problème avec Minecraft c'est que genre... j'ai pas toutes les rêves qui existent dans ce monde. Genre il y a plein de trucs que je comprends pas. C'est pour ça que j'ai envie de relancer une aventure. Et de la faire en fond de temps comble. Et pourquoi pas avoir des guests etc. au fur et à mesure de cette aventure. Genre pourquoi pas avoir des Pomaka, des Fraivolix, des gens comme ça. Voilà, je sais pas. Des gens. Je sais pas. Ça pourrait être vraiment cool, je trouve. Bon, il répond pas là. Ça fait 4 minutes que j'attends ce bâtard là. Pourquoi il y a rien qui se passe là? C'est trop chiant sa mère. Pourquoi il y a rien qui se passe? Allez, c'est bon, ça fait 5 minutes. Le mec il se fout de notre gueule. Vas-y, on va appuyer sur lui.
I suppose I can't. Not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley.
Ah, je vois, d'accord. Même si on l'entend, on peut pas faire en sorte que l'on réalise de ce qu'il nous demande.
Well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Wow. Un restart. Ça m'a écrit veuillez mourir. Est-ce qu'on fait comme...
Good morning. Thank you for
contacting the Future Happiness Foundation. We are confirming your shipment of 1,327 cardboard boxes to your place of work. Can you verify that this is correct? Excellent. Your order will arrive shortly. Thank you again for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation.
Ok. Donc là, il nous a écrit veuillez mourir. Donc on va faire en sorte de mourir pour qu'il sache qu'on l'entend. Pour mourir, faut aller à gauche. À la porte de gauche. Porte de
When
gauche là.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Là, tac. Ok, on arrive
Yet there
bien à
was not a
celle-ci.
single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's
mourir,
office.
fallait monter,
Coming
du
to a
coup.
staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Executive bathroom, c'est quoi ça? To be rich is it a crime? To commit crime is it a rich? Hein? What the life it would done if it would be to have to pick just one? Donc, être riche est un crime? Point d'interrogation. Est-ce que commettre des crimes c'est être riche? D'accord. Qu'est-ce qu'une vie? Qu'est-ce que serait une vie? Attends, what life with it? Oh, je dis ça, merde. Il fallait que j'aille là.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct
T'as
code.
pas fait la même chose la dernière
by
fois.
sheer luck.
Ah si, ça fait la même chose la dernière fois.
He stepped into the newly opened
Donc là, vous
passageway.
me demandez de mourir, fallait aller là. Ah, il n'y avait pas ce passage là, il n'y avait pas de passage tout court. Et là, il fallait vers le bas. Là, ça nous emmène tout en bas. Il faut prendre à gauche, là où il y a écrit escape. Pour vouloir mourir. Comme il nous a demandé, pour qu'il sache qu'on est là. Parce qu'on a déjà fait le chemin, donc bon, pour voir si ça servirait, à quoi ça servirait d'y aller à nouveau.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read
Et là, faut aller là-bas.
Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Là, on va pas hésiter, faut qu'on aille mourir parce qu'il nous
The
a
door
demandé d'aller
behind
mourir.
him was not
Donc
shut.
pour qu'il sache qu'on
Stanley
comprenne.
still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
C'est pas juste qu'il n'y
At
aura
this
pas un
point,
screamer.
Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Ah non, c'est bon, ça apparaît ça. Bah, à chaque fois peur ce bruit. Ah
As
merci
the
qu'il va
machine
quand
whirled
même un
into
peu.
motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Il a compris ou pas?
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as
Non, c'est la
Stanley
même
was
que la
led
dernière fois.
helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Ah putain, j'ai cru que ça allait me tuer ce con. Toujours pas, ok. Le Stanley Parable.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
On va restart le jeu. Et on va avancer vers la salle.
Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand. It was only
Imagine,
a matter
je
of
viens
time
alors
before
que
he
je
found
suis
the others, wherever they
39 degrés,
were.
j'ai dormi qu'une
Just
heure
a
hier.
matter of time.
Mais dis-toi, ce jeu il fait chauffer le cerveau. Donc là on peut plus accéder à là, on peut plus accéder au téléphone. Du coup, et on sait que mourir ça ne sert à rien. On ne peut plus accéder à rien et là il n'y a plus de boîte parce qu'ils veulent que j'accède qu'à vraiment une seule porte. Est-ce qu'il y aura une seule porte qui va être ouverte là? Non, parce que le principe de base de
When
choisir
Stanley
c'est...
came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Parle pas de chauffer le cerveau sinon je vais mourir. Ah mon pote. Mon
This
pote.
was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
If
Perhaps
you
he
know-
wanted to stop by the employee lounge first,
You know-
just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. What was but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Donc là, hop, on avait franchi celle-ci, mais ça avait servi à rien. Donc on va prendre ça.
And so he detoured through the maintenance
On était
section,
descendu.
walked straight ahead to the
Et on va pas
opposite
descendre
door,
là.
and got back on track.
Il y a deux choix là. On va aller là-bas ou là-bas. Là-bas. Eh, vas-y, vous savez quoi? Eh, Yolan, tu décides, on va à droite ou à gauche? Tu décides, Yolan. Yolan, you decide. Droite, allez-y.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of
Tu te
disbelief,
souviens des deux premières
Stanley
portes?
decided to go up to his
Là, c'est la
boss's
salle de
office,
réunion, on devait
hoping
aller.
he might find an answer
C'était le
there.
chemin de la première porte à gauche. Ok, d'accord, donc là, ouais, là, normalement, il y a ça. Ok. Donc là,
Oh
ok.
no, oh no, 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 not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much
On
in
va aller en
this
bas.
room. Coming to a staircase,
On va aller en bas.
Stanley walked upstairs to
Là où
his
c'est rouge,
boss's
là.
office.
Là où j'avais peur d'aller. M'en fous, on y va.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken
What?
that risk? All
What
because
the
he
heck?
believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did
Ouais,
doors
ça.
close automatically behind him wherever he went?
Ouais,
And
ça.
for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to
Bah oui.
himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared.
Je vole pas la
It was
compte
so
mort.
much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Eh ben non. C'était mort.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
What?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
En fait, comment on peut savoir si on a le contrôle ou pas? Genre, c'est ça en fait le truc du jeu de base. Comment fait-on pour savoir si on a le contrôle ou pas? Et comment fait-on pour savoir si on n'a pas le contrôle?
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
D'accord, on va aller sur la porte de gauche. Ah non, mais on
Stanley came to a set of two open doors. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew
Ah, j'ai pris la porte de droite
well.
inconsciemment.
Perhaps he wanted to stop
On
by
va
the
faire
employee
comme la
lounge
voie
first,
d'avant.
just to admire it.
Sauf qu'au lieu d'aller à droite, on va aller à
Standing
gauche.
now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Non, ouais, on avait pris celle-ci, ouais.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Ok, là on n'avait pas pris. Donc là on peut prendre cette porte normalement. Nique ta mère. Ok. Là forcément fermé, d'accord, on peut pas prendre la gauche.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Quand on est allé vers le
Coming to a
bas,
staircase, Stanley
ça, on va
walked
monter, là.
upstairs to his boss's office.
Donc là, on sait qu'il y a ça. On peut pas faire grand chose là, on peut rien faire même. On peut pas interagir. Il y a toujours la phrase là où j'arrive pas à comprendre la fin. Attends, mais elle a changé. Because the boss knows that what the boss says goes if the boss suffered loses, then that's what the boss... Oh, nique ta mère, j'arrive pas, je la flemme. Ok. On a toujours été à gauche. On peut pas aller là, si on peut. Mais je veux aller là. Voilà. On va aller à droite. Pourquoi il veut tuer le panda? Pourquoi il y a un ascenseur? Tuer le panda, pas gentil ça. On va aller vers le bas. We will not take the traditional way. Voilà. Peu importe le chemin qu'on prend, on reste ici, d'accord. Je crois pas.
The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really be all alone? This was too much for Stanley to take, too much for any man to take. He fell to his knees, bursting into half moans, half sobs, the guttural retching of life from a man denied any hope, any reason to keep going. Here on the floor he lay prone, paralyzed by fear for nearly a full hour. But when at last he began to move about and survey the situation, he found a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could it mean? Was it a sign of hope for Stanley's future? Alas, it was not. For although this keypad guarded the terrible secret of Stanley's past, it had been assigned a 4-digit code so devious and so random that no man could ever hope to guess it. 2845. Statistically, nearly impossible to guess blindly, ever.
Ok, obligatoirement que je tape ça. Non.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Donc là, à chaque fois qu'on avait été là, on avait été prendre la mort. On va continuer, on va pas prendre la mort. On va continuer. Parce qu'à chaque fois qu'on avait été à gauche, on a été prendre le chemin de la mort. Là, on va continuer.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
What the fuck is this shit?
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with
Mais on est tout en bas de la salle là. On est tout en bas de la salle.
What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to
Ouais,
himself.
ouais, c'est ça, ouais, on est tout en bas de la salle.
Did he have the strength to find out?
On est tout en bas de la salle avec tous les nombres de tout le monde. C'est pour ça qu'on n'était pas censé le voir avant. Parce que genre, vraiment, on n'était pas encore arrivé dans cette salle. Donc c'est pour ça qu'il voulait pas. Mais là, on peut vu qu'on a pris le bon chemin.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Que ça se trouve, il était lui-même. Ce gars-là qui est dans cette salle, il était lui-même emprisonné de ses choix. Mais pareil, quelle recette juste avec son
It was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Le fameux bouton. On fait quoi? Yolan, tu décides. Off one. Off one. Est-ce que là on a le choix là? Soit off, soit on. On. Ok.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are sent to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. Là-bas. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated.
Il y a le 3.
All right, I'm in a good mood. You're going to die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley.
Ah, le bâtard.
You're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say happily ever after.
Est-ce qu'on est mort ou est-ce qu'on réapparaît? On réapparaît. Donc on va appuyer sur off.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Après, par droite. Par à gauche. On a fait tout ça, mais pas. Le voir sur par droite, on n'a pas fait des choses. Parce que par à gauche, on a fait toutes les solutions. On a fait tous les chemins par la gauche.
Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach. Giddy but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
On va
And
reprendre
so
ça.
he detoured
On
through
va
the
reprendre
maintenance
ça parce que
section,
par là, il n'y a rien.
walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Ok, ok.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake. No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
Ça, il l'avait déjà fait. Il va voir ceci.
Let's see, we went down, right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
T'es pas censé.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to...
Si, je suis censé être là, j'ai vu ça.
Kidding. It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time,
Ok, faut vraiment aller à gauche,
don't
du
wander
coup.
so far off track, Okay, from the top. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Revenu par là, on va aller par là.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again?
Allez.
Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not? All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
C'est vrai qu'il y avait ça
Okay,
aussi.
yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Quand même, t'as déjà fait, donc c'est un peu useless de faire ça, mais c'est pas grave.
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps. Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so.
Que ça, là, si on a déjà vu, donc flemme de refaire ça.
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing. When Stanley came to a set of two
Donc là, faut
open
qu'on
doors,
fasse le
he
vrai
entered the
truc.
door on his left.
Du coup, on fasse celui qui avait de base.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
On va voir la phrase qui est écrite maintenant. Because the boss knows that what the boss says goes. If the boss loses, and that's what the boss chooses. Ok, d'accord. Pourquoi pas. Donc là, ça sert à rien d'y aller. Ok.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean, he
Ah, c'est
wondered.
ça.
Desperate for answers, he began turning the room over looking for clues that might unravel the situation, until at last he discovered a keypad behind the boss's desk. But alas, no code. For this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't get
Vas-y, à plus,
by
Johan.
simply pushing random buttons on the keypad. Stanley
Cet
happened
après-midi,
to
c'est sur
input the
PCS, by the way.
correct code by sheer luck.
Rappelle-en-toi.
Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Ok, donc là on va faire le vrai truc de base. On va appuyer sur off parce que bon, il nous demande d'appuyer sur off. Mais il va pas être content.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No.
Bon.
He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Okay.
But here was the proof,
Donc
the
là,
heart of the operation.
oh, il y a R.
Controls labeled
là-bas.
with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never...
Oh.
blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
J'ai tout fait, c'est pas ça, je comprends pas.
Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him.
Est-ce que ça va nous faire croire qu'on peut y aller et qu'au final ça nous ramener là-bas? Au final quand on va passer la porte, ça va nous faire redémarrer?
And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Est-ce que c'est vraiment la vraie fin? Est-ce que c'est vraiment la vraie fin? Terminer le jeu. Ah bah ouais, c'est vraiment la vraie fin. Is never the end. Pas vraiment la vraie fin. Parce que là on revient là. Et là on n'a pas la vraie fin.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
New content.
New content? What does that mean, new content?
Donc non, c'est pas plus que nous. What the fuck? What the fuck? What the heck? What the heck is that? Sheesh.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
Ok, on monte.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
On va faire les 12 hein. Marrant.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content?
Ouais, Vemoum, comment ça va?
New content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could counter 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh wait, there's more. Very good, yes. I knew there had to be something else. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Mais c'est quoi ça?
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
J'ai pas eu le choix. On m'a pas laissé le choix. Ah ah, mais même là ça change. Même là ça change.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Non, on va pas y aller. Rien à foutre de sa vie.
Oh, you don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so who cares?
Ok, sois pas si méchant comme ça avec moi, j'ai rien demandé.
Oh, never mind. You're not a dork.
Tu joues à quoi? Ouais, je joue à Stanley Parable. C'est un jeu assez chelou comme tu peux le voir, mais... De toute façon, je mettrai la relief sur YouTube si t'as envie de voir la totalité. Ça parle de quoi? En gros, si j'ai bien compris, ça parle de comment tu peux savoir que tu es dans une réalité si tu peux pas penser par toi-même. Quand tu peux savoir si tu peux penser par toi-même, si toi-même tu sais pas si tu peux penser par toi-même ou pas. Et donc voilà.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it.
On est face à un truc qui
Our
m'a une
little
fake.
secret.
Damn.
I call it the memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back
Là,
then,
il se fout de la
it
gueule
all meant
d'autres choses là.
something. Oh, the waste.
Là, il se fout de la gueule des nouveaux sortants de jeux vidéo en mode ouais, les remakes ou les nouvelles versions ou les nouveaux trucs sont d'énormes trucs de merde et des gouffres afriques. Le fameux drôle. C'est très marrant, je trouve. Ça, c'est les nominations au Stanley Parable. Ah ouais, toujours plus. Le fameux, on l'a vu. On l'a vu, on l'a vu. Ok. Ouah, chelou un peu, on dirait un insecte là.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism. 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Pourquoi il y a une... Allez, on va en bas. Ça sert à rien d'aller en bas, je peux pas aller en bas, hein, propose-nous pas. Qui qu'on va? Très bien, je voudrais aller là. Attends, what the fuck, c'est des plans ça? D'accord, ça c'est comment j'ai été design, hein, d'accord. Red and blue. C'est fermé derrière nous, pourquoi pas?
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
On doit se barrer. Non, c'est bon.
These were simpler times, Stanley.
On peut
But
passer
I
par...
wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Damn, il s'est fait tailler. Il s'est fait tailler le jeu sur Steam à skip. Damn. Damn, damn.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Goodness, this is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks are my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure.
Oh
Like I let
là,
these
faut pas
people
dire
down.
ça.
Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Aïe aïe
What's
aïe.
this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews.
Avec un skip button. What the
today, and it's always been my
Il y a un bunker qui apparaît.
anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No, 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 no. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people, and if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245.
Yes,
that the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so... Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto.
Ah bon?
Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are or were or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being, then by making no choice and saying nothing, are you not simply erecting in the sanctuary of time a monument to every person you've ever been, making every choice to which you've ever given your great gift of mortal and yet timeless thought? Or rather, do all of the choices you've ever made, in fact, make you more not this kind of person, and in fact do the very opposite? You see, it could in fact be both of these things at once. That you are both making choices and not making choices, and that they are both affecting you and not affecting you at the same time by virtue of the fact that you both are and are not making them. Okay, at first I was leaning towards manifesto, but now I'm going to circle around and slap the treatise label on this one. I think it has much more of a treatise vibe to it. But wouldn't you say that manifesto just has a much grander sort of tone? It has a mouthfeel that is rich with ambition and history. Ambitious history, if you will. See, now you've gotten me going back to manifesto. Heavens, at this rate, we're going to be here all day. Okay, look, I have a method for exactly this sort of situation, and I do find myself in this situation frequently. I'm going to say each word back and forth in repeated succession until I become sick of one or the other, in which case the word I am not sick of shall be the victor. It is an unimpeachable strategy, Stanley. It's rescued me from disaster in countless situations. All right, here we go. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto.
Bon, une seule.
Treatise. Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their Steam review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on exactly how Steam works. Perhaps that would have been the smart thing to check on before I went about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing this exciting new technology at work, surely whoever it is runs Steam will instantly run out and implement a new feature to make it possible to edit one's review, merely because of this very situation. Yes, I think that's quite likely. Or perhaps they'll simply grant this particular user the ability to change their review, so that the feature is not widely abused. Look, I would even be okay with Steam altering this particular review so that it reads as something more beneficial, something along the lines of, "This game is the best game." Let me start over. How about this? From the ashes of depravity rises the phoenix of quality. How else to describe?
Elle me saoule encore.
Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes. It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, how do we get out of here? Where did the door go? Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort, or a window or something like that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole? A sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button, to go anywhere other than the skip button. There was a door here before, wasn't there? I swear there was. Where did it go? Can you maybe just ram your way through a wall? Is there any possibility that you could, say, slam your body into the wall until enough damage is done for you to be able to leave?
Mais j'y arrive
Please,
pas.
I'll take any option at all. I'm asking you to work with me here. We need a door. We need a door of some kind. I can work with any kind of door as long as it can open and lead from one room to another. I'm going to step away for just a moment, and I'm going to try to find us a door. I don't know how exactly to remove a door and place it in a different wall, but I will find a way, I promise. You just need to not do anything. Don't press the skip button. Please, please, please do not press the skip button. Just wait here for me, and don't press the skip button. Got it? Yes, good. I'll be right back.
Ok. Est-ce qu'on appuie ou pas? Est-ce qu'on appuie sur le skip button? Or not. Ah, telle est la question. Parce qu'on sait qu'elle se rallonge. Passer de quelques secondes à quelques minutes, de quelques minutes à 30 minutes. Donc ça peut être vraiment dévastateur là, parce que ça peut passer de 30 minutes à genre, je sais pas moi, une demi-journée, une journée entière. Et on sait pas dans combien de temps elle va revenir, ça peut être une journée entière comme 2 minutes. Je viens de dévorer un succès en appuyant tout le temps sur la barre espace, d'accord. Ok. Oh, c'est iconique sa mère. Hein.
Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been
12
12 hours.
J'avais dit.
You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer. And my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times. And there's no door, Stanley. There's no door. There's just you and the button. And if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. I have no idea how long I'll be made to sit here. And more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button. Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with.
On va voir la
And you
faute de
think that
quelqu'un.
that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've all... Oh, hello, it's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant. In that instant, I could see myself clearly, calmly, with a collected heart.
Donc ça
It
c'est
was an
mesuré en années
impossibly
là.
rich wellspring of both delight and disgust simultaneously.
Là normalement ça va être en plusieurs dizaines d'années. Non, t'en même plus. Là on peut rappuyer. Je pense qu'il n'existe plus l'IA. Je pense qu'on va faire ça jusqu'à ce que le bâtiment soit mort.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack.
Là ça va faire plusieurs centaines d'années je pense.
The end is never the end, 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 is never the end,
Va péter son câble.
is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is...
What happened? Ah, elle est tombée. Ah, tout s'est écroulé. Regarde, c'est something. Je savais qu'il fallait voir ça. Oh, la biodiversité. Ah. Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? Damn. Ah. Passe vite. C'est un désert total le truc. peux pas appuyer dessus. Je peux juste avancer, je pense. Ouais, j'avais juste avancé. Et là, on revient au bureau. Thème interminable.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Un truc qui me cache là.
Oh, good. You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Comme si j'étais pas censé aller là. Skip.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
Damn it.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
The Stanley Parable 2.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Donc ça, c'est plusieurs idées artistiques qu'ils ont eu. Ah ouais. Damn it.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Okay. On va faire avec eux. Damn it.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features. For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Et quoi d'autre?
Jim. Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim.
Hey, I'm Jim.
I want you... Jim. Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button.
Ok, désolé, my bad.
It's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim.
I'm Jim.
Imagine yourself driving to work as Jim, playing frisbee on the weekends as Jim, staying up all night for a popcorn and horror movie sleepover as Jim, developing a crippling substance addiction as Jim, rediscovering yourself through fringe religious groups as Jim, and finally dying a slow death at an old age surrounded by members of your cult as Jim. Do you feel it in your soul? Are you really, truly Jim right now?
Jim à fond, mon ref.
If so,
Vraiment.
then please step forward and press the button. Jim. Yes, you see? What a thrill, what a rush. That was you. The button described you. Do it again, do it again. Jim. Ooh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
Il est trop bon. On va ouvrir toutes les portes au cas où, hein, bien évidemment. Bah, on va tenter d'ouvrir. Hi, I'm Jim. Ensuite, c'est quoi comme nouvelle feature?
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable. An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it will go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Quoi ça paramètre champion du monde de fake? Ah.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
It was persist.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is.
Clairement, appuie sur le droit. Je crois pas. Oui, là-bas.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on. Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is, in fact, A hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward.
Je vais tomber jusqu'à l'infini.
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
Ah, et si je le fais pas, qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Qu'est-ce qu'il y a si je le
Okay,
fais pas?
Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready. Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Mostly infinite hole. Ça me fait marrer un peu. Par derrière, ok. Il est trop con. C'est bien qu'il y avait une couille dans le pâté. New plus easy achievement. I can't believe it's that simple. Okay. Pull the lever. Okay. Receive your new achievement. No more steps. It just works. Get you now. Okay.
Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
On achievement, s'il vous plaît. Allez, va à terre. Du coup, je voulais dire, c'était quoi l'équipe? Ça dit qu'on va bien, hein, écoute, ça dit que le jeu il est trop bien, en vrai. J'aime bien le jeu. Bon, là il part un peu en couille, mais il est bien le jeu, il est bien le jeu. Et du coup, par rapport au jeu que tu m'as dit tout à l'heure, Rec Room, non, je connais pas. Mais flemme de jouer aux jeux d'horreur, j'aime pas ça, je vois des jeux d'horreur, donc j'y jouerai pas. Si c'est un jeu d'horreur. Waouh, c'est joli.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
What the fuck? Ok, d'accord, j'en ai 1 sur 6, faut que je les récupère tous.
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic. You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's a... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle? Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Eh bâtard. Ah, j'aurais dû en regarder un ou deux. Allez, bâtard. Allez, bâtard. Ah, ils m'ont bien vu. Du merch. Est-ce que dans le merch, je pourrais pas avoir une figurine où ça ferait genre 2 sur 6. Donc ça, on a fait. Ça, on n'a pas fait. Pas des images du jeu, d'accord. Ça, on n'a pas fait. Ça, on n'a pas fait ça.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I am happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well?
Oh, je jure, il va pas
I
de
think that
charisme,
just
incroyable.
holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Wow. Le jeu me hype vraiment, OMG. Pourquoi le 2 s'est cassé la gueule? Ah non, c'est bon. Du coup, on
Does
a pas
anyone
fait
give
quoi?
out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Bon. Comment ça, je peux pas m'exit? J'ai tout fait, je crois. Hein.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
C'est grande votre salle quand même là. Hein. Ouais, fuck, c'est quoi ça?
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready?
No.
Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
Wow.
I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2.
Wow.
Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything.
Eh oui.
I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Damn. Donc là on est passé sur The Stanley Parable 2. Ah ouais d'accord. Commencer le jeu. Ok, pourquoi pas.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time.
Est-ce que vous pensez qu'il faut vraiment terminer le jeu comme on l'avait fait avant?
He got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley felt the bucket calling to him, begging him to pick it up. Why was he... When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
C'est réellement le même qu'avant quoi. Rien qui a changé quoi.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean, he wondered? Desperate for answers, he began turning the room over looking for clues that might unravel the situation, until at last he discovered a keypad behind the boss's desk. But alas, no code. For this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
C'est vraiment le même qu'avant. Ah non, encore il y en avait un là. Aussi. Ça a rien ça. Du coup ça a rien les objets collectables.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible
C'est vraiment
secret did this
exactement le même
place
jeu et c'est pas
hold?
foulé.
Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or
Même pas eu
content.
le quasiment
Working, all of it
quasiment un film
monitored
là.
and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would...
Il y a rien qui change dans ton jeu, mon ref.
blackness, and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Il n'y a rien qui a changé à part quelques trucs. J'ai pas eu de trop quasiment infini.
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've... Maybe Stanley would never pick up the bucket. A lonely bucket, lonely... Stanley picked up the bucket.
Donc il veut vraiment qu'on fasse tout ce qu'il veut.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and this was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, no.
Toutes les petites figurines, je pense. Il y en a que 6, donc ça devrait aller.
Stanley took the door on his left
Faut qu'on fasse toutes les trucs.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Good,
said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
Peut-être mystique.
Good morning. Thank you for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation. We are confirming your shipment of 1,327 cardboard boxes to your place of work. Can you verify that this is correct? Excellent. Your order will arrive shortly. Thank you again for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation.
Pas de soucis, ma ref, pas de soucis.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Donc on avait vu ça là, on avait vu... Je vais récupérer un par
Still
un.
no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find out. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Je pense que c'est uniquement sur le truc. On va tenter par là-bas. On en a pas.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by... But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along?
Okay.
Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley what about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Okay. Donc, faut aller où? Pour aller pour avoir d'autres Stanlerine, du coup. Bon, j'en veux d'autres. Je veux les 6, les Stanlerine.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death. The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Est-ce que c'est le fameux intro infini ou pas du coup là? Non. Ok, on va retourner en arrière. Y'a rien.
But of course, Stanley and the bucket thought better of it and realized they simply had too much to live for. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Okay.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter, his one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
On fait à nous.
But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly birds.
What the fuck?
The control buttons became active again.
Ah, d'accord.
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Okay.
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. And here it was, the lounge. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Parler, il y a une figurine ou pas? Oh, pas de figurine. Pousse ma figurine. Oh, we can't find them. Ouais, c'est là, ouais. Red Room. Hein? Comment ça, Red Room? Yo Hakim, comment ça va? Ça joue sur PC? Absolument. Absolument, absolument. Red Room, comment ça Red Room? Red Room, stress en bas?
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and
Red Room, bah
What
forcément.
do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness?
Je stream aussi d'autres jeux indés. Pas énorme. Pas énorme, pas énorme.
I'm sure it will come to
Parce
me.
que là je commence à beaucoup me développer au niveau jeux indés, etc. Mais je joue pas beaucoup à des jeux indés en ce
But
moment.
Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss.
Surtout des jeux
Admitting he
multi.
had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy,
Je joue des figurines, moi je m'en fous de ta parlotte.
all because he believed everyone
Il m'en
had
manque deux.
vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself,
Et
maybe
là ton
I
ton slip là il
am
marche
crazy.
plus là, hein,
All of
forcément.
my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down?
Ah, je sais ce que je peux faire. Recommencer le jeu. Tac. Là je veux juste mes figurines là. Là ce qui importe c'est les
Even
figurines.
now, Stanley's office was a distant memory.
On
What
a
did it
fait
look
là.
like?
En
There was a computer,
allez, ouais.
perhaps, and a painting.
Un
Was it
film
a
de lui.
painting or a photo? He could no longer recall.
Est-ce qu'ils vont me dire où est-ce que je peux en avoir
When
une?
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Est-ce que tu crois qu'ils vont me dire où est-ce que je peux avoir une figurine? A large room, lot of boxes. Somewhere. Ok. Donc. Ok, donc. A large room, lots of boxes. Une grosse truc avec beaucoup de... Mais ça c'est au début ça. Avec plein de boîtes.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Lots
Stanley
of
decided to go to
boxes.
the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Voilà. Ça doit pas être là. Une grosse pièce avec beaucoup de boîtes.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not
On va
the correct
marcher, on va
way to
voir
the meeting
si,
room, and Stanley knew
on
it
se rappelle.
perfectly well.
Il me faut une grosse
Perhaps he
pièce
wanted
avec
to
beaucoup de
stop by the
boîtes.
employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Pas une grosse... Une
It was okay.
vaste pièce avec beaucoup de boîtes.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Elle rentre cette pièce. Je pense que c'est
Stanley was
vraiment
so bad
celle-ci.
at
Hein.
following directions, it's incredible he wasn't
Là, on est dans
5
une
years
large
ago.
pièce et il y a beaucoup de boîtes.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not.
Et
I
c'est what I
realize that
see.
investing your trust in someone else can be
Ah,
difficult,
c'est what I
but the
see.
fact is that the story has been about
Bon.
nothing but
On
you
l'a trouvée,
all
celle-ci.
this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please.
Really?
I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen
Là,
to
j'ai
you?
pas vu là encore.
I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do
Ah,
want
je
to
l'avais vu
help you,
encore.
to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Ok, donc
Now
là on a.
listen carefully. You're getting close now, Stanley.
Il nous en manque
You've
une.
nearly gotten all
On sait où elle est.
Fiddler and Marines. Very
On sait
soon,
où elle est.
you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Fiddler and Marines. None of us can.
On va prendre la porte rouge.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
Qu'est-ce qu'il veut me montrer?
What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, No, wait. Where are you going?
Il y avait une pièce, moi je voulais y aller, j'y vais. Hein.
Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this. Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing. No!
En fous de ta vie.
Oh, thank God. No, what are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this? Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me?
Ok, je crois que je peux pas mourir.
Yes, perhaps you can. Perhaps you finally see what I'm talking about.
Je crois que je peux pas mourir. Pas sûr.
I know you'll see that we can't be happy if we leave this place. You can see that, can't you?
Et par moi. Bon bref. Oh, je me rebarre, hein.
No, perhaps not.
Tu peux me laisser me barrer?
My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You were literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly?
Ouais. Je suis méchant, ouais.
Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
Je vais de plus en plus lentement, mon perso.
Is it over?
Ouais.
It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Bon, maintenant on sait où est la dernière figurine, on y va.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Je sais pas si ça va être la fin du jeu après la prise des figurines, mais je pense pas en vrai.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired.
Mais parle, bordel. Mais comment ça parle, bordel? J'essaye de comprendre le jeu, il est pas ultra facile à comprendre le jeu, d'accord? Ça fait 2 heures, ça fait quasiment 3 heures que je joue, j'ai pas putain de compris le jeu. J'essaie de comprendre le jeu. Il est chelou le jeu. Mon cerveau, il a jamais autant travaillé qu'au bac, frère. Juste pas tomber, je veux juste... Oh, rien à ce jeu.
And there it is, the last Stiggly Wiggly. Savor this moment, Stanley. This is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward, and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here, and now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines.
Sinon ça va où? Donc là c'est... Et what the fuck? Pas genre juste descendre? Et là il y a une échappatoire là. Non mais là si je saute je meurs. En fait. Alors il y a rien d'autre. On va retourner par là. Hein. D'accord, donc ça... Amicalement intéressant.
Stanley had now gotten himself so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path.
Jamais arrivé là, ouais, de fait.
So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. You didn't think I was actually just a recording, did you? What a silly and trite explanation that would be. All the back and forth between you and me, all the absurd adventures we've been through, and it all turns out I'm just a tape recording? It was all just in Stanley's head. I bet that's the kind of twist you think is revelatory. I bet each and every time you watch a movie where it turns out all to be in the main character's imagination, you must absolutely bolt off the couch in pure shock at the phenomenal and intricate storytelling.
Mais qui es-tu en fait?
It must be so simple to be you. Life being an unending waterfall of surprises and delights. How much more exciting you must find the world than the rest of us do. Now I've become sad. Look what you've done to me. This is all your fault.
Bien évidemment. D'accord, là ça restart. Pourquoi ça restart? On n'a aucune idée.
Stanley, I'm sorry, but I have to put a pause on things. It's those figurines. Those figglers. I haven't stopped thinking about them since you nabbed every last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire life? Didn't it fill you to the brim with inner richness? Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with one more trip back to the memory zone? I would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines. Just one more time.
Ok, pourquoi pas, c'est envie. Alors, la salle des figurines, hein, des memories. Est-ce qu'on va retourner au point de Steam là, ou genre ça va refaire ce truc de merde? Ok, d'accord, mais... On va pas foncer directement dans le sous-sol comme ça de base.
Here's where it all began. The first collectible. Back then we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain? We were so innocent. We'll never be like that again, Stanley.
Je m'en fous, je vais là. Hein.
And here was a second Stanlerine. You found this one all on your own, just by poking around in the boss's bathroom. You did that, Stanley. I'll be honest. Back then I had no faith in you to find any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of
il m'a sous-estimé ce bâtard.
ways.
Pas con non plus, hein. Je sais résoudre des énigmes. Boss's office and just
let's do a little quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini stand? Can you remember?
Boss office. Understairs. Boss office. Je me rappelle, c'était celle-ci.
Hey, that's exactly right. It was here, behind the boss's office. It was the third one. You picked it up, and then after that, you had 3 of them.
Bah ouais.
I'm glad these moments are so crystal clear in your memory, but I shouldn't be surprised. After all, science tells us that it's impossible to forget your 3rd time doing anything.
Ensuite, qu'est-ce qu'il y a?
Let's see, what came next? Oh yes, we found a figly in this pink room. Oh well, I can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here in the memory zone, so it must have happened.
C'est pas ici, hein. La 4ème, c'était pas ici. C'était en dessous des escaliers.
This was the 5th mini-stand, and this one was really something special. It was by the red and blue doors. I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion.
Ah d'accord, une vidéo comme ça, pourquoi pas. Oh le 480p. Ah putain. Je sais pas ce qu'ils ont pris lors de la création du jeu et ça devait être fort.
Takes you back, doesn't it? I spent a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else.
Ah les bâtards. What the hell is that? Oh, au-dessus du vide. What the fuck?
And then, Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here in the warehouse. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a figly and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like.
Damn it. Et restez tous sans sur les figurines. D'accord, pourquoi pas.
And then there was no more. Because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. Goodbye, memory zone.
D'accord, pourquoi pas.
No, I'm not done. I'm not ready to move on. Stop the loading screen. Isn't there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels. Okay, yes, this spot in the warehouse. I remember this. I must say, of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going, I want more.
Je le gars un peu.
And here's where I made that video. Don't you remember the video we watched?
Ah ouais, d'accord.
Yes, I love that video.
Je le gars un peu.
Still don't remember the pink room, Stanley. Still no memory of this one. Good room, though. A solid room.
Et jusqu'où ça nous mène en fait? Genre, y a rien? Aucun but?
These really were a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had been any kind of reward for finding all of these, it really would have neutered the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one.
Ok. Allez aussi par là. Rien par là. Absolument rien.
This was our second Figley. Don't you remember? Yes, I remember it too. The past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going. This is it. The very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the figlarines. Oh, I want more memories, Stanley. I want to keep going. What else is there? What came before this?
Mais il y avait ça. Il part dans n'importe quoi lui.
Look, it's the terrible new content that we were originally sold on. I remember hating it back then, but time does put a rosy filter on everything. In fact, I dare say I'm actually quite fond of it now. Oh, yes, the 2 doors. Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one. And before everything else, there was your office.
D'accord.
Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office? There's something I feel I can remember. I can remember.
Lancement du jeu.
Remember.
Oula, j'ai
Yes,
peur.
I'm remembering something now. I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical. I weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy, and I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions, he would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction. But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what? Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I did enjoy telling his story so very much. Okay, here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Tac. Pas trop là. Pas grave, c'est la vie.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either.
Reboot the game
Feeling a
entirely.
wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had
Que c'est ça
simply
qui
missed
fait que je
a
le
memo.
fasse? Pas. Ou pas.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Non, reboot the game
Yet
entirely.
there was
Ok.
not a single person here either.
Faut que je ferme le jeu et que je le relance du coup je pense. Je relance le jeu. Tac. Il est 2h... Ah, 57, 58, 59. Attendez, d'accord. D'accord. Ne prennent pas l'étape et laisse leur aiguiller sur Betty. Mais vous avez pris le temps d'indiquer l'heure et je vous en suis reconnaissant. Ok. C'est ainsi que vous vous souciez de votre expérience, votre... D'ailleurs, je n'ai aucun moyen de vérifier si l'heure que vous avez est correcte. Je peux vous dire, nous allons passer à marcher, d'accord? Si vous faites preuve de tellement de volonté, la prochaine fois que vous lancerez le jeu et verrez cet écran, vous n'aurez qu'à saisir votre heure préférée, d'accord? Et dites l'heure que vous voulez. Et ce n'est pas l'heure, la bonne heure, vous l'avez bien mérité, d'accord? C'est accéder au jeu, d'accord? On va relancer le jeu. On va relancer le jeu et mettre mon heure préférée. Moi, mon heure préférée, c'est quoi? Mon heure préférée, c'est vraiment 15h. J'aime bien 15h. Ah oui, c'est vrai. 5 PM. 15h, c'est. Non, 15h, c'est 3h. 3 PM, my bad. Oui. Et le degré d'exactitude de 3 PM. D'accord. Impression d'en apprendre plus sur vous et vos préférences, d'accord. Il est bon de collecter les données, oui. J'aurais aimé qu'on ait plus de curseurs, mais nous les avons tous utilisés. Ah merde. Je pourrais monter pour recueillir des données à votre sujet. C'est rien de compliqué, oui, je vais en fabriquer de nouveaux. On devrait être prêt la prochaine fois que vous redémarrez le jeu. On va redémarrer le jeu. On va aller voir les curseurs. Ok. Placer le curseur jusqu'à ce que le chien et le chat soient amis. Déplacer le curseur jusqu'à ce que le chiffre s'avienne. Et passer le curseur jusqu'à ce que le menu change. Pas le menu. Ok, du soir, grattèche. Ne réglez pas le curseur, ok. Vous savez quelle heure il est? Oui. L'heure qu'ils affichent maintenant, c'est la bonne heure. Ah oui. Quelle heure est-il de toute façon? Ah non. Y a-t-il des choses que vous ne m'avez pas encore dites sur vous-même? Oui. Aidez-moi. Oui. Pourriez-vous me voir? Oui. On va revoir. On a rien à foutre, on va le revoir. Quelle heure est-il? Est-ce que quelqu'un peut me dire? Non, bien sûr, personne ne sait rien. Vous et moi, nous ne connaissons pas, nous sommes étrangers l'un pour l'autre, ouais. Certes, j'ai réglé tous les paramètres du jeu à votre convenance, mais qui ne ferait pas ça? Je suis là pour ça, c'est un peu mon travail. Et maintenant, mon travail est terminé. Oh, rip. Je n'ai plus de renseignements à vous demander, j'ai toutes les données sur vous qu'il me faut. Et je ne vous connais toujours pas. Et vous ne me connaissez pas. Et aucun de nous deux ne sait quelle heure il est. J'imagine que certains réglages sont irréglables, ouais. Mais si je veux être parfaitement honnête, d'accord, cette heure n'a aucune incidence sur le jeu de toute façon. Ah. Je ne serai pas là, pas là la prochaine fois que le jeu se lancera, mais ce n'est pas grave. Les jeux vidéo sont faits pour être joués en solitaire. J'apprécie à souhaiter non. C'est peut-être la seule information utile que j'ai apprise sur vous. Bien, il est temps pour moi de vous laisser. Il me reste peut-être une dernière chose à régler, mais j'ai besoin de temps pour m'y préparer. Ce n'est pas vraiment ma description de travail, mais ça va. Peut-être que vous me reverrez si vous pouvez me trouver. Allez, bientôt. Hmm. Épilogue. Tard. Ouais. Bien. Ok, c'est le vide complet, le néant. What happened? Je comprends pas. Ah. Jure. Et comment il a fait pour prendre du bois s'il n'y a pas de bois? Bizarre quand même, non? En vrai de vrai, non? Damn it. Je comprends pas ce qui se passe. Damn it. Ok, ça c'est le truc de souvenir. Ça je me rappelle. Waouh. Y'a plus rien. Il est mort le truc. Enseveli par le sable. Je viens aimer le premier stage de souvenir à quel point je suis déçu de la suite là où le jeu d'origine brillait par son originalité, ce n'est pas tant mieux sans un 4 plus de semaines. Peu que je surveille sur ce qui a fait la même qui n'intéresse personne, un trou sans fin qui s'intéresse où sont les doubles sans fin. Et ses conséquences amusantes de Stanley Parable 1 comme la ligne d'aventure, ça on nous sert une quête annexe peu inspirée à base de collecte de figurines, même cette diversion laisse un goût inachevé trouver toutes les... Ouais, pas faux, pas faux, pas faux. Développeur de Stanley Parable, plus de spin-off, plus de suite. Quand Stanley Parable a connu son succès mondial en 2013, ses créateurs ont envisagé de faire fructifier ce triomphe en créant une véritable franchise, mais la réception critique désastreuse et l'échec commercial de The Stanley Parable 2 ont forcé les développeurs à revoir à la baisse leur ambition, ainsi qu'ils expliquent dans un communiqué de presse publié aujourd'hui. Il paraît clairement que les fans ne veulent pas plus de Stanley Parable. On peut lire dans cette communication: nous pensions que notre vision pour l'avenir de la série réjouirait les joueurs. Malheureusement, nous n'aurions pas pu être plus éloignés que la réalité. Le communiqué de presse poursuit en promettant de préserver l'intégrité artistique du jeu original et d'arrêter d'agresser les fans par nos visions créatrices inconsidérées et insultantes. Le mot désolé apparaît plus de 25 fois dans le communiqué. Damn, so. Ils ont mal vécu la presse.
Jim.
Allez, les fameuses figurines. Est-ce que ça va encore prendre ce que j'ai ou pas? Ouais. On est vraiment dans le néant du jeu là. Oh bonjour. La vidéo. Mais c'est horrible d'apprendre avec un nouveau jeu Stanley Parable jamais le jour. Avez-vous vu que ce que devait une franchise qui a ramassé des aussi? Le Stanley Parable n'est pas sacré, il n'y a nul besoin de le protéger. Au diable l'héritage, continuons de créer des jeux Stanley Parable jusqu'à ce que le soleil explose. Mettons cette franchise à terre, traînons-la dans la boue. Et si le public déteste, qui s'intéresse? Vous voyez, c'était ça le problème du narrateur. Il faisait une fixation sur ce que les gens pensaient de son travail. Ne faites pas la même erreur. Ne vous attachez pas à l'héritage. Laissez le désagréger, pardon. Ce n'est pas difficile d'ailleurs, je vais vous montrer. Ensemble, nous allons créer The Stanley Parable 3. Ok. C'est simple. Il nous suffit de changer le numéro sur l'écran titre du jeu. Il nous faudra aussi un sous-titre débile pour le jeu, un truc bien cucu qui se remarque. Essayez de combiner des mots au hasard pour trouver un nouveau titre pour notre jeu. Allez. Cette année Parable 3. Étant oublié le tout dernier virus informatique. Le Stanley Parable 3. Le tout dernier virus informatique. C'est absurde, j'adore. Dès que vous relancez le jeu, nous passerons au chiffre suivant et choisirons un nouveau titre. Ainsi, le Stanley Parable ne connaîtra jamais de fin. Et rien ne changera dans le jeu quand vous ferez ça. Ajouter du contenu, ça demande du travail. Inutile d'aller jusque-là. Ce sera juste le même contenu recyclé à l'infini avec un nouvel écran titre. Qu'est-ce que vous dites de ça? On valide ce plan? Allez. Moi ça me plaît, mais vous avez aussi votre mot à dire. Je comprends, parfois il est trop tôt pour avancer. Ce n'est pas grave, si vous changez d'avis et vous voulez recréer des nouvelles suites, vous venez me voir, pas de soucis, je serai là, pas de soucis. On a donc terminé le jeu là? Ou pas? Encore.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Ok, on est revenu au tout début.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Du coup, c'est le même qu'avant.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music. Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Ça me fait... Allez, une nouvelle ligne de dialogue découverte.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights
Bon, je comprends rien du
enormous
tout.
room packed with television screens.
Je sais même pas quand est-ce qu'on devra
What
terminer le jeu en
horrible
vrai.
secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength?
Si ça se trouve, cette
to
ligne de
find out?
commande, c'est cette ligne de discussion, c'était quand on termine le jeu.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Mais du coup, c'est à chaque fois la même. Du coup, on a terminé le jeu vu qu'on a fait toutes les fins possibles. Non, en vrai. En vrai de rien, non. Là, j'ai plus trop d'idées, hein. Là, ça va être la même fin. Genre, le portail qui va s'ouvrir, on va aller dans la nature et ensuite nous et voilà. C'est exactement la même.
Yes, he had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door,
Je pense que c'est terminé, les gars. Je pense qu'on a fini le jeu. J'arrive plus à savoir s'il y a des nouvelles fins ou pas. Hein, en fait. Pour moi, on a fait toutes les possibilités. Hein.
What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered.
Donc à travers là, on a dû bien faire le
For
truc.
it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Ah, du coup là c'est la fin.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin.
Bon les amis, du coup je pense qu'on va cesser là. Je pense qu'on a fait toutes les fins possibles. Sinon bah elles ont été très bien cachées et que là j'ai pas trop le temps pour le faire. Je vous dis à la prochaine YouTube, c'était cool, n'hésitez pas à vous abonner. Tchuss tout le monde.